Welcome to the Forum at Holy Communion, a long-standing conversation about faith, life, justice, arts, culture. Each week, we will premiere a conversation on our channels, and then on the following Sunday, we join in the conversation with Q&A and a chance to engage on the topic. We're so glad you have joined us. Welcome, folks, to the Forum at Holy Communion. This is the last presentation we have in our series leading up to the annual meeting this Sunday, February 13th at 9 a.m. on Zoom. We've had presentations of new Vestry members. You've had the rector's presentation, which was part of my sermon a week and a half ago. And now the senior warden, Rudy Nickens, is with us. And Rudy and I are going to be having a conversation. Normally the senior warden gives a presentation in the annual meeting. We're not going to hold everybody on Zoom. So we're asking folks to watch and listen to this ahead of time and come with questions on the 13th. So Rudy, it's a pleasure to be with you.
Thanks, Mike. Same here.
Yeah, always. In your written report, you talked a little bit, you've not been senior warden very long. And so I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what it means to become senior warden and about your predecessor and the decision to accept my invitation to become senior warden.
Well, I am senior warden. It still feels like I'm senior warden elect because it's just still just sort of resting into what the role really means. I've been on the vestry for a couple of years now and gotten a chance to work with and support and observe the leadership of incredible people. And my predecessor, Shirley Mensah, is just someone that I admire and respect and cherish so much, both as for her humanness and for her leadership. And she's really something else. Like I love one of the things I love about Shirley's leadership is she will not accept no from anybody. Found that really fascinating. Like, I think I'm really good at saying no, being very clear. If it's not the thing I want to do, I can say without any drama or stress or, things just no, thank you. And Shirley can't hear that. And she asked me to do something. I said no, and then she signed me up for it. And it's like, well, I guess I'm doing it. And that, that kind of leadership is really quite daunting to me. It's really amazing.
Yeah, well, and she has the rare talent to be able to get away with it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So I am honored to follow her in this role. She led us through major change from money to COVID to building, stuff, and what a time. And so I'm just really glad that I have seen such an amazing leader and want to honor her role and continue from there.
Yeah, and Shirley, if you don't know, it's just timing out. We have in our bylaws the requirement that vestry members can only serve 2 consecutive terms. So Shirley has done her service and is by bylaws had to step down. So I was really grateful, though, that you were willing to come and step into those difficult shoes to fill. But I mean, if anybody can do it, sir. I wonder for you, as you watch the dynamics of the vestry, it's been a difficult year for vestry, and not for any contentiousness or frustration, but if you could talk a little bit about the transitions that you name in your report and where we're heading now.
Sure. Yeah, what I think is important is that we don't invite people onto the vestry to fit in. And that when we change people, when we bring new folks in, that means we've created a new vestry each time. And we've had to do that, with some frequency over the last few years. and that's as it should be. Like, it's not about like, oh, just come in and do what the person before you was doing. It's like, come in and be you and bring your mind and your perspective and your talent. And for me, that means we get to shake it up and create a co-create the way the vestry operates with new energy. And I love that, even though it's like, oh, again, but I still love it for real. It's actually important to me to not ask people to just come in and be quiet and hold the space and um, do what the other person before them did. Like, come in and be you and bring what you bring.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the natural cycles got sped up a little bit with our, we're between, I think, we don't get to announce this because the way that it works is the vestry has to vote on a junior warden. But we do have a candidate for the junior warden for the vestry to elect when we have our new vestry. But Warren Davis, who'd been our junior warden, had to resign pretty suddenly for good reasons, because Emily, his spouse, got a call to be rector of another church, and he's a good supportive clergy spouse, and I know what that's like because I have a really good supportive clergy spouse. But Warren went off with Emily, and then Megan Onder Cooper, toward the end of her term, had the opportunity with her spouse to move to Vancouver in Canada, and so both of them had to leave early, so we've been down a little bit. Can talk a little bit about, I like that image of a new, like coming in with a new vestry with a new sense of who they are. Talk a little bit about how we can make that true, where we, like, how do you set the stage for a new group to take on new dynamics?
Yeah. So clearly in an ideal world, you would have terms that go to term, and then you would have a strategic planning, and you'd have, guidelines, everyone come on board for what the next year or 2 years are going to be. But, it never works out like that anywhere in the world. I mean, I chair another board that, I was talking to the executive director the other day. It's like, I have no idea whose terms are when anymore. They just like, this person's come in to fill this unexpired term, and we've just lost all sense of the very orderly matrix that we once had, and reality doesn't always line up to the strategic plan. So you deal with reality, and I never want people to feel like, I always want people to feel like you're invited because you bring something. You're invited to bring and share your talents. I think one of the most, difficult things that I've ever experienced on boards is when I got asked to be on a board, but given nothing to do. And if you don't have any way that who you are is included in the work and the tasks, then you're just not going to be a happy, member of the team. We don't just want folks to just come and be a number. So, and I don't know what everybody's interest is. And that's really good, because I don't want to say, oh, I know what your job is, therefore you should be on this committee. That's not how it should go. It's like, what would be a good stretch for you? What would be a good use of your talent? Where do you want to contribute? That's the engagement for me right now with new people.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I mean, talking about it with the vestry, in some ways that's kind of, we were talking offline a little bit about this moment that we find ourselves in as this sort of frustrating moment with COVID. And as we listened to the senior warden and junior warden conversation from last year, we were all in this brand new space of, we just for the first time, had 6 months of Zoom services, and just for the first time. And now it's been like the year of the variant. We've been varying on the theme, and we've been frustrated by, in September, we were hoping to be kind of more back to church, but we had Delta. And in January, we've had Omicron. And yet, I was with Susan Norris, who was the immediate previous junior warden to Warren, at the Advent party in December. And I remember 7 years ago when I was coming on as rector, Susan was like, 7 years. Isn't that crazy?
Oh my
It'll be 7 in April. Susan was saying she was the newcomer back then. She was the person who, she's like, I don't know how I ended up on vestry. I've only been here a couple of years. And we were at the Advent party, and she was saying, who are all these new people? I don't know any of these people. Where are all the people I know? And I feel like we're in the midst of this there's a lot of energy and life, even in this weird kind of eddy. How do you think, what are the best ways to invite people? And you're talking about, like, you don't just want them to fill a slot, but give me a preview. If you're going around talking to new vestry members or talking to new members, how do we invite people to be themselves and to offer what they have to offer? And how do we make the organization ready for that?
I don't think I think Holy Communion is just a really good place to be. And so it's one of the things that make it easy, is that you're inviting people to come into a place that's affirming and that's open and that's, thoughtful and visionary and progressive, and so that's really great. It's like you can come and we're never, I like that about you, Mike. You don't try to make people fit inside a mold. And although, we honor and support and follow all the guidelines of the Episcopal Church and the canons, we're very compliant people in all the ways that we're supposed to be, but we're also creative, and so who doesn't want to be a part of that? I remember when I was executive director of a nonprofit organization and doing getting some mentoring from someone about how you raise money. And the thing that stuck with me was, well, people don't give to places that need money. They give to places that, like, I want to be a part of a success story. And you're already doing such important things. I was like, well, that's why people come to Holy Communion, because we're just a good place to be. You don't want to come because it's broken and you need to fix it. You come because you really want to be in this space where the leadership and the community is really welcoming and good. So I think that's how you invite people in, like, join the celebration. We are victorious over all kind of things already. There are so many obstacles and barriers to people having good lives. We have so many things that don't want us to find each other, to be together, to be connected, to be, cross all kind of different dimensions of diversity. That is not that's not lost on any of us at Holy Communion, that we have figured out how to have that. And because of that, we start from a place of victory. We start from a place of celebration. And I think that's what the invitation to people is.
I like that. Like, in some ways, you're getting right at the heart of our, vision of ourselves as a diverse, welcoming community seeking to follow Jesus. But that in and of itself is a victory. I've not heard you put it quite that way before. I'm grateful for that. Speaking of particularity and talents and things, one of the things I've gotten to work with you a little bit on, we got a big update on yesterday, which is the stained glass windows for the chapel.
Right.
And I reshared this on Facebook, but I know that for a few folks, this is going to be the first time they're seeing. But the artist Kababi, who is working with Fry Stained Glass Studios, posted some pictures of our new window for the chapel. And so I wanted to share those with folks and then ask you to talk a little bit about what they mean. So this is the window that'll be closest to the altar. It's a resurrection window. And this is this is not finished. This is just the cut glass as they're getting ready to paint it and put it together. And Kababi was painting on it yesterday. So here's a little bit closer in on Jesus. And there's Mary Magdalene. So it's the scene of resurrection morning in the Gospel of John. Mary finds Jesus in the garden, and Jesus tells Mary to go and tell the boys. And so at one point, Mary has to walk away from the risen Lord to go tell the boys. So she has her fist up in the air. The revolution continues. And here's some of the painting work that Kababi has done. There's Jesus' mouth. I love the detail of his hand. I can't wait to see these when they're done. We're hoping to install them here this spring. But can you talk a little bit about the art committee that met with Kababi, and remind folks about the work that we're doing around representation and art?
Yeah, first, what a coup it is to get Kababi Bayak to come and do this. This is a first for him as well. So to work with Fry and to him. Like I think both the artists, the stained glass company, they're all going to be better off for having done this. And we're the recipient of them having to figure out something new. How lucky for us and how lucky for them. And this is all a good moment. And then I remember the first session that we had with Kababi and the committee, art committee, as it were, and it was like, we just talked, it was just talk. And he just listened. I mean, he had very few questions and very few comment. He just like listened to us brainstorm, brain dump, think out loud, share individual biz. We hadn't done this with each other yet. So it wasn't like we came with a consensus agenda that these are the things we want. It was like a diverse group of people with diverse thought, throwing it at this artist at one time. And then him just like sketching and taking notes and then coming back with this incredible renderings of what would happen. Like that's really cool to me. And I'll say that they're beautiful. First of all, I love. I don't know. I just think it's really important that we have this very Afrocentric moment. In our representation. I'm not really all about representational diversity unless it's grounded in some meaning. And for this, it's grounded in meaning to me. And there's so much pushback and stuff in the world right now about race and race theory and what young people can be exposed to, et cetera, that I love that we're offering that as a loving, sweet, beautiful contradiction and a space of healing. And I was going to say, like, I remember the one time I was in Nigeria and I was doing a workshop, and the site that we used was a convent. They had, meeting space, and there were all these, there were, I don't know, 50 or 60 people who came to this workshop that I was leading, and it was really great. But we're in this convent where, where these beautiful, wonderful, mostly old nuns lived and, took care of everything. They're really quite old, as I remember. These beautiful women. And one of the things I remember that just hasn't left me is that throughout the entire physical space, in every room, there was these pictures of white Jesus. And I just was like, oh my God, I keep wanting, I don't know, is there no place on earth where the white supremacy hasn't insinuated itself into someone's mind? And so I was like so broken that this was happening in this Black convent in Nigeria, that it's like, oh yeah, we get to contradict something here at Holy Communion. And those nuns weren't bad or wrong or evil or stupid. They just, they just got what they got. They got the images that they got. So I love that a generation of young people can come to Holy Communion and not have to change their mind about something, but actually live with it from the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and that dovetails so well with what you said about, it's true. This is the first time Kababi is working in the medium of stained glass, which is, he's very excited. He's posted on social media about it, right? And he's Aaron Fry, who's the, grandson of the originator of the studio, but it's the first time Fry Studios ever worked with a Black artist, right? And so that, our request, and we kind of had to wiggle a little, not with Kababi. Kababi was about this from the beginning, but with Fry, we had to sort of say, like, I know you don't work with outside artists that often, but you have this opportunity. And so it's taken some work, it's taken some commitment. So it's kind of fun. I mean, like, it's just fun to get to play that role. Beautiful contradiction.
Yeah. We broke the two rules, the rules that keep things stuck, the rules of we always do it this way, and we've never done it any other way. And those two rules keep progress from happening a lot. And we smash those rules with a lot of folks, though. That's really cool.
No, it's funny you put it that way, because I was chuckling a bit to myself when you're talking about, like, we're good Episcopalians and we follow all the rules. I'm like, because we don't follow those two unspoken rules, which in Episcopal spaces can be very strongly, really strongly followed rules. Rudy, I find myself grateful for this coming season? I mean, like, we are still in this weird, and I think emotionally as a congregation, as a world, we're sort of in this space that's still yet to be defined in terms of what comes next, virus wise, what comes next, what are we able to do next? But if you could prognosticate, if you could hope for what the senior warden report sounds like next year, what are the things you hope for?
I remember talking once at a vestry meeting about, space that I wanted to make sure that we held at church, that was just holding space for when things happen, so that people knew there was a place to go and be listened to, and show up as community. I went to one last month when on that Saturday doing Shabbat, when people were being held hostage in a synagogue in Texas, and someone called for holding space for this, and 300 people showed up on a Zoom call, with 10 minutes notice. And it was powerful, and no one had to know or do anything, just be together. And so I want us to be able to be able to offer that in as many ways as possible. I know that during this pandemic, while we are still forced to not be able to do the things that we're used to doing, like gathering together and hugging each other, because that's how I want to be. I want to just, when things are hard, I just want to gather my loved ones near me and put arms around everybody and be together. And for many reasons that hasn't been possible or made sense. So we have to double down on our ways of being together and like be thoughtful, but make sure we create as many ways and opportunities for people to have contact with each other. And at the end of the year, if someone said, my isolation got contradicted, that would be a really good deal. I just don't want us to be alone right there. My younger brother, who has a way with words, when I were talking one day, and I told this to my doctor, I said, yeah, Todd said, well, we're going to be okay. We're going to get through COVID, but I hope we don't emerge on the other side of it a bunch of lonely, overweight alcoholics, So that was like, yes. And then I said that to my doctor. She said, with mentally ill children. So I want to hold all the things that we can be bigger than all of our circumstances, but we have to actually recognize that this particular environment then is really hard on people. And so we have to figure out how to really see each other, how to really make space to show up for each other. Just whatever gatherings there are. I mean, I don't want to have another Zoom meeting every week, every month, every day. I don't want one, but I gotta say, I really respect the space that Chester has created for men the first Saturday of every month. That's sometimes I'm able to make it, sometimes not. But I think just making sure that it's always there for whoever to use it however they can, that's really important. So, Chester's not the only one that can call for something, right? Anybody can call for something, like I have a thought and I want to invite people into community with me around a thing. That's what I hope. We're just vibrant like that in the ways that we can be.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to sit with that hope. I think that's a wonderful place to leave us. I am so grateful that you were willing to come and step into the role of senior warden. I've learned so much from you in the years I've been at Holy Communion, and I'm grateful that you're willing to step into that. I'm really looking forward to hopefully being able to announce our junior warden at the end of this month after the vestry meets to elect the person. And I'm grateful for the folks that are coming into vestry.
Well, one of my good friends who's at the cathedral, Rob Good, said, "You're doing what?" When I said I was a warden, and or something like that, and to Rob, I said, like I said, everyone, there is no world in which I would say no to Mike Angell for him.
Oh, well, that's kind. And it's Rob Good knows, because he's doing it for Kathy down at the cathedral too. So Rudy, thank you. Thank you for the report that you've written. Thank you for the service you have on the vestry, and looking forward to being with you on Sunday morning at 9 o'clock. And if folks are not registered yet, please get registered. We're close to a quorum. We need you there. And come and vote with us for the new vestry members, for the diocesan delegates. Get a chance to do some Q&A with me and Rudy and Brian. And then at the end of the meeting, as the sweetener at the end of the meeting, I'll be announcing the Rector's Cross recipients. So hang on for that Sunday morning. Rudy, thank you so much, and I'll
Thank
see you on
you.
Sunday morning.
See you Sunday morning.